know the Motor City was the birthplace of so many vehicles.
Kevin Jeans joins us with more on a special collection of historical Detroit cars. Kevin.
Hey guys, check this out. I mean, it's also about the paint jobs, right? Like the flames on this Bel Air. This is eternal blue mica on this Riviera, and this beautiful silver on GTO. There's just a lot of work that goes into caring for these cars. And there's actually a collection of cars that's owned by the city of Detroit. It showcases automotive innovation going back 125 years. We're about to give you a rare look inside this collection of cars cared for by the Detroit Historical Society. At first glance, it's hard to tell what's under all of these plastic bubbles quietly kept in a Southwest Detroit warehouse. Each one holds a unique story about Detroit's automotive history. Take a look at what's inside this giant bubble.
It's Lee Iacocca's personal Lincoln, a 1973 Lincoln Continental, and it's an enormous, enormous car.
It's, in fact, 18.5 feet long.
It's really neat to have this example that's not only tied to a instrumental figure in kind of the Detroit auto landscape, but also it's a great snapshot car, again, of just what was on the road at the time.
We went under the bubbles to get a closer look at a few unique cars.
It's a 1963 Mustang II concept car. Ford rolled out the original Mustang experimental sports car, which is on display at the Henry Ford Museum. They borrowed some elements from the concept car, borrowed some from the production car, and rolled this out and showed it around to kind of manage people's expectations of what they'd actually be able to buy when it came time to come buy a Mustang.
The Mustang concept sits next to this Orphan brand car.
That's a 1935 Stout Scarab, and Bill Stout was an aircraft engineer by trade, and he actually developed the Ford Trimotor airplane. Later in his life, started developing these experimental cars, and really took an aircraft designer's eye to the automobile. This car is designed really from the passenger perspective. And he said in his autobiography that when they were touring this car around, they drove from Detroit to LA with a glass of water on their dashboard and never spilled a drop because the suspension was so good. There was only 35 made in 1935. There's only a handful of them left.
And the Scarab's current neighbor?
That's a 38 Packard. This 1938 is really the peak of Packard styling. It gets all that great Art Deco influence that was so big in the 1930s, especially on the front end with the big headlights and kind of all the chrome on the grille. Then on the complete opposite end of that is kind of more everyday stuff. Like we have a 1984 Dodge Caravan, for example. We have a 89 Ford Taurus. They're all built in what we call the Detroit style of manufacturing. So they're mass-produced and mass-marketed cars that were available to a wide array of people.
The collection rotates through the Detroit Historical Museum. Cars range from the turn of the 20th century to 1992.
It's really broad and wide-ranging, but I think that's the strength of it.
And if you're curious about the bubbles themselves,
there's a little tiny computer fan on the back of them, basically, that pull in air from the outside and circulate air around inside the bubble to keep it inflated. But also it keeps the dust off. It adds that extra layer of protection.
An extra layer of protection for Detroit's precious automotive history.
It's the signature industry for the 20th century. It's really instrumental to the Detroit story, and we're lucky to have such a great collection to be able to demonstrate that history.